What made you put modeling in a secondary plane and focus on your political career?
So it happened very quickly. I was 21 years old. This was around 8 years ago, and I got the opportunity of a lifetime to work on the presidential campaign at 21 years old, which a lot of people don't get. I emotionally decided that was my number one goal, but I actually was doing both at the same time. And then I just got so busy with politics, and I knew that if it came out that I worked for Donald Trump in 2016, it might hurt my modeling. So I just decided to keep it a secret and try to do both as long as I could. Eventually it came out and I had to pick, and I just decided that it was more important for me in that moment to do something that was bigger and more meaningful. My parents are immigrants to this country. They gave up everything to try and come here and have a good life. And for me to be able to have any involvement in politics would mean that I had reached some kind of success and that their journey and their immigration was worth it. So that was more important to me. I've also always been an extremely proud American, very patriotic, and I never thought I'd have a chance to work in politics. So it kind of just felt like it was meant to be. At the same time, I've noticed over the years when I went back and forth between modeling and politics that people don't really want you to do both, and people think that they put you in a box. And I've tried very hard to be someone that can do a little bit of everything. I think as long as you work really, really hard and you're nice to everyone that you meet and you don't try to say crazy things, you don't try to go viral for the wrong reasons, you just do things out of the goodness of your heart because you believe in them, there actually is an opportunity to reach the top in all industries at once.
Okay. And why did you choose the Republican Party over the Democratic Party?
I chose America, right? I didn't choose the parties because I wanted to work for the party. I chose the moment. And in that moment, I thought the one side was going to be better for America and for this country. I have always said if Donald Trump was not the candidate, I would not be the spokesperson for the Republican Party. I don't think I would have wanted to work for them if it was someone else. And I don't think another candidate would have wanted me to represent them. So I think for me, it worked in all ways. And I believe Donald Trump is the best person for this country, for this moment. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for the Republican Party. I'm doing it for the country. And if in another election, I feel another candidate is better, I will support that candidate because I just want America to be number one. I want America to succeed. And I care more about the country than any party that will ever exist.
That's great. How did you come to be part of Donald Trump entourage?
In 2016, I volunteered for his campaign twice, and then basically decided I wanted to work for him. I sent a letter to someone very high up in the campaign, and I asked an intern to bring it up to them. They liked my letter, and they hired me the next day. I ended up working for him until we won in 2016. Then I went back to modeling. I went back to college. I went back to graduate school to get my master's. I was on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. I did a lot of amazing things. And then when he was running again, now I've been very close to the family for a couple of years, and we had some conversations, and we thought it would be good if I came back in this role. And for this moment where America is on the line, to be asked to be a part of it was just such an honor and such a big deal that I obviously couldn't say no. And it's funny because I don't even see it as political. I just see myself using whatever skills and talents I have to fight to make sure that America is in the best position possible.
Great. You were recently at a memorial for the anniversary of the October 7 massacre. How do you think the relationship with Israel will evolve in an incipient Trump presidency?
Yeah, so I take the issue of Israel very seriously. I'm obviously Jewish. I'm a religious Jew. And I also think in general, the relationship that we have with Israel, that most Western countries have with Israel, is incredibly important because Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel is our allies, and Israel shares not only victories with us, but Israel shares enemies with us. And I think people need to understand that. I think what's happened in the last 4 years with our relationship with Israel has been really dangerous, really horrible to watch. Knowing October 7th happened over a year ago, knowing the war is still going on, knowing we're not closer to a hostage deal, knowing that there's 4 Americans that have been held now for over 4 years, and I don't think this administration is doing enough to bring them home, is really difficult for me to watch. I believe Donald Trump would have been different. I really do. I'm not sure if it's just him. I believe most people would have been different. And I pray that we can fix the relationship with Israel, bring the hostages home immediately, and fight terrorism the only way that it should be fought, which is with full strength, because anything else simply doesn't work and brings us to the exact situation that we're in right now.
And how do you take the criticisms about Israel's defense of its country?
Number one, I don't speak for Israel or the Israeli government or Israeli leadership. I think they should do whatever they feel they need to do to protect their citizens. Number two, when Israel is attacked by a terrorist group who does some of the most unthinkable, horrific things that I think many of us will ever watch or witness in our lifetimes, it's pretty easy to know what side is good and which side is evil.
Okay. What do you make of the fact that many mass media outlets minimize the assassination attempts that Donald Trump suffered?
It's horrible, but it's not surprising. I lost faith in the media, I'd say about 6 or so years ago, when they discovered that I supported Donald Trump and I saw the way that I was treated. Like I said, I work really hard. I try to be nice to absolutely everyone. I don't say things that I don't agree with. I don't want to go viral. I don't want to get attention for the wrong reasons. I'm doing what I believe is right. And I thought that with that, I would get a little bit of respect, but I didn't. I was treated horribly, and there were lies planted about me in media outlets. People said atrocious things. People wished, obviously, for bad things to happen to me. A lot of the threats that I get daily still are because of the nasty lies that have been written about me. So I think in that moment, as horrible as it was for me, I discovered that we can't really trust a lot of our media when they say anything about major issues, major politicians, things that are a lot more important than just me. So I'm not surprised. I think our media has lost a lot of credibility in these last 8 years, and I wish people would put politics aside and realize when a former United States president is nearly assassinated, we have a really serious problem, and should probably come together over the fact that an innocent person also died that day at that first assassination attempt. And unless we can put politics aside and realize how horrible that is, whether the person was a Democrat, Republican, or anything else, I don't see the country going in a better direction.
Okay. Many times people within Donald Trump's circle have mentioned the fear of a possible electoral fraud. What precautions are being taken to prevent that from happening this time around?
Yeah, there's a lot of work done on the Republican National Committee side, on the RNC side. We talk about it all the time. Election integrity efforts should kind of be shared by both Democrats and Republicans. Laura Trump, our co-chair, she says it all the time that we've invited the DNC, we've invited Democratic leadership to be a part of our efforts, and they don't want to. I think we put in a lot of effort, not because it's what Donald Trump cares about, but because it's what the American people care about. The last thing that we want is to wake up on November 6th and have anyone think that the election was not free and fair. I think it's incredibly important that the American people are put first, and whether they're Democrats or Republicans, they should have full faith in our elections. So we have court cases going on all around the country in very, very important states about making sure that votes are counted correctly, making sure that mail-in ballots are only counted up until a certain time. For example, making sure that no illegal overseas voting is happening depending on the state that people are in. We have lawsuits about overseas voting now in North Carolina and Michigan, I believe. We have lawsuits all around the country. We're keeping track, and we really wish that people would stop making this out to be some kind of partisan issue. I would assume everyone left and right wants to know on November 6th that the election was as fair as possible.
Okay. In Argentina, we fervently believe in the importance of fighting the cultural war in order to win a political fight or an election. Do you also put cultural warfare in the foreground in the United States?
It's an interesting question, because if you asked me about the culture war a couple of months ago, I would say that means something very specific. It means being on social media and pushing back on things. And then now I think the opposite. I think every day I'm fighting my own little culture war just by being who I am. I don't like social media. I don't like the internet. I don't like how cruel people are, how mean people are. I don't like the misinformation and the lies and how we're all obsessed with social media and following what our favorite celebrities are doing instead of getting the knowledge for ourselves. I think it's a very strange time, but I also think for me, I'm fighting my own little culture war just by trying to be a proud American, a proud religious Jew, a married woman, an educated woman. I mean, there's a lot that I'm doing to try to push people in that direction, and I hope people would follow along. I think you win the culture war by leading the best possible, most impressive, most dignified life that you can lead, and I'm hoping that people notice that.
Great. Do you think Argentina can become a strategic partner of the United States in the region under Trump's presidency? And what role do you believe the country could play in this scenario?
So I think in general, Donald Trump can answer that question a lot better than me, but I think any country that shares our values in a time when the world is as crazy as it is could become a strategic partner. I think on October 7th, I personally realized just how much evil exists in our world. And then with the response to that, I realized just how many people, how many political leaders are scared to call out that kind of evil. And I think when you know that that happens and good lives, good innocent people's lives are at stake, every single nation that wants to be on the side of decency and on the side of fighting that fight could be a good strategic partner, because if not, right, if we don't all unite against evil, horrible things could happen to really innocent people who don't deserve it.
Okay. What image does the GOP have of Javier Milei?
A very good one. People are very big fans. I think in general, obviously the friendship between him and Donald Trump is what has gone viral, but I personally liked him long before that. I personally was a big fan because of his connection to Israel and Judaism, but I have heard nothing but good things. And I think in general, knowing that there are other leaders around the world that we think are impressive and are cool and are good people and share our values is always inspiring for people in our country, because we want to know that we're not alone in this fight.
Okay. And what kind of ideological affinity do you see between Milei and Trump?
I think it's interesting because people didn't like their politicians to have personality before Donald Trump. I never noticed people latching on to the personality of a politician as much as I did with Donald Trump. I know people who don't like it, but those who like him, those who support him, always bring it up. I've spent a lot of time with him, and I love how relatable he is, how down to earth he is. You spend time with him, and in a few minutes, you forget that you're with a former president of the United States. And I think they both kind of share those characteristics. They're both humans first, right? They're both people who want to connect with the people of their country before they want to be presidents. And I don't think that that's very common. I think that's why they're both as popular as they are.